This is the Book of Jasher, chapter 1. And Elohim said, "Let us make man in our image after our likeness." And Elohim created man in his own image. And Elohim formed man from the ground, and he blew into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul endowed with speech. And the Elohim said, "It is not good for man to be alone. I will make unto him a helpmeet." And the Elohim caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept. And he took away one of his ribs, and he built flesh upon it, and formed it, and brought it to Adam. And Adam awoke from his sleep, and behold, a woman was standing before him. And he said, "This is a bone of my bones, and it shall be called woman, for this has been taken from man." And Adam called her name Eve, for she was the mother of all living. Now, I want to just say something here, because I was speaking to one of my Christian friends, and he was telling me, the Bible says it's not good for man to be alone, which the Bible does say that. But the way that he was speaking of it was, he needed a female for this and that. And I often hear Christians use certain things out of context. It's not just them. Anyone makes a mistake, but in the Christian church, they usually teach you things out of context. So at this point in time, when the Most High said it's not good for man to be alone, there was no one else. There wasn't even a woman in his vicinity made. So I'm not saying there were no other people. I'm saying at this time, Adam was in the garden where he was created by himself. There were no other men, no other women. It was just Adam. So he gave him woman. So sometimes I just want to say we want to make sure we understand what's going on with reading certain scriptures and things. You don't want to make the mistake of applying something that doesn't apply to you at this time. Let's go to the next page. And Elohim blessed them and called their names Adam and Eve in the day that he created them. And the Elohim said, "Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth." And the Elohim took Adam and his wife, and he placed them in the Garden of Eden to dress it and to keep it. And he commanded them and said unto them, "From every tree of the garden you may eat, but from the tree of knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat. For in the day that you eat thereof you shall surely die." And when Elohim had blessed and commanded them, he went from them, and Adam and his wife dwelt in the garden according to the command which the Elohim had commanded them. And the serpent which Elohim had created with them in the earth came to them to incite them to transgress to command of Elohim which he had commanded them. Wow, they literally were just created and put in the garden, and already somebody's trying to create destruction, set them up for the fail. And the serpent enticed and persuaded the woman to eat from the tree of knowledge. And the woman hearkened to the voice of the serpent, and she transgressed the word of the Elohim, and took from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And she ate, and she took from it, and gave also to her husband, and he ate. And Adam and his wife transgressed the command of Elohim, which he commanded them. And Elohim knew it, and his anger was kindled against them, and he cursed them. And the Elohim drove them that day from the Garden of Eden to till the ground from which they were taken. And they went and dwelt at the east of the Garden of Eden. And Adam knew his wife, and she bore 2 sons and 3 daughters. And she called the name of the firstborn Cain, saying, "I have obtained a man from the Elohim." And the name of the other shall be called Abel, for she said, "In vanity we came into the earth, and in vanity we shall be taken from it." I'm not sure what that means. I think vanity means beauty or means lack of value. Actually, I'm not sure what that means. And the boys grew up, and their father gave them a possession in the land. And Cain was a tiller of the ground, and Abel a keeper of sheep. And it was at the expiration of a few years that they brought an approximating offering to the Elohim. And Cain brought from the fruit of the ground, and Abel brought from the firstlings of his flock, from the fat thereof. And Elohim turned and inclined to Abel and his offering, and a fire came down from the Elohim from heaven, and consumed it. And Cain And unto Cain and his offering the Elohim did not turn, and he did not incline to it, for he had brought from the inferior fruit of the ground before the Elohim, and Cain was jealous against his brother Abel on account of this, and he sought a pretext to slay him. And in some time after, Cain and Abel his brother went one day into the field to do their work, and they were both in the field, Cain tilling and plowing his ground, and Abel feeding his flock. And the flock passed that part which Cain had plowed in the ground, and it sorely grieved Cain on this account. And Cain approached his brother Abel in anger, and he said unto him, What is there between me and thee, that thou comest to dwell and bring thy flock to feed in my land? And Abel answered his brother Cain, and said unto him, What is there between me and thee, that thou shalt eat the flesh of my flock, and clothe thyself with their wool? And now therefore put off the wool of my sheep, with which thou hast clothed thyself, and recompense me for their fruit and flesh which thou hast eaten. And when thou shalt have done this, I will then go from thy land, as thou hast said. So basically, Cain is telling him, take off the clothes that you've taken from my flock, and pay me for the meat that you've gotten from my flock, and then I'll stop bringing my flock to feed on your land. Basically just being wicked and trying to set him up for this murder. And Cain said to his brother Abel, Surely if I slay thee this day, who will require thy blood from me? For instance, he's saying, if I kill you, who's going to make me pay for it? Who's going to say anything? At this time, so as I think there aren't many people. And Abel answered Cain, saying, Surely Elohim, who has made us in the earth, he will avenge my cause, and he will require my blood from thee, shouldst thou slay me. For the Elohim is the judge and arbiter, and it is he who will requite man according to his evil, and the wicked man according to the wickedness that he may do upon earth. And now, if thou shouldest slay me here, surely Elohim knoweth thy secret views, and will judge thee for the evil which thou didst declare to do unto me this day. And when Cain heard the words which Abel his brother had spoken, which were true, behold, the anger of Cain was kindled against his brother Abel for declaring this thing. And Cain hastened and rose up and took the iron part of his plowing instrument, with which he suddenly smote his brother, and he slew Cain. And Cain spilt the blood of his brother Abel. Let me go back here. And Cain spilt the blood of his brother Abel upon the earth, and the blood of Abel streamed upon the earth before the flock. And after this Cain repented, having slain his brother, and he was sadly grieved, and he wept over him, and it vexed him exceedingly. And Cain rose up and dug a hole in the field wherein he put his brother's body, and he turned the dust over it. So as far as we know, this is the first death and the first murder ever recorded. All right. And the Elohim knew what Cain had done to his brother. And the Elohim appeared to Cain and said unto him, Where is Abel thy brother that was with thee? And Cain dissembled and said, I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper? And the Elohim said unto him, What hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground, where thou hast slain him. For thou hast slain thy brother, and hast dissembled before me, and didst imagine in thy heart that I saw thee not, nor knew all thy actions. So it's basically telling him, you've killed your brother before me, although you thought in your heart that it was a secret and no one would find out. Like when he said, Who will require your blood from me this day? So he thought, the Most High wasn't going to know his actions. But thou didst this thing, and didst slay thy brother for naught, and because he spoke rightly to thee. And now therefore cursed be thou from the ground, which opened its mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand, and wherein thou didst bury him. And it shall be, when thou shalt till it, it shall no more give thee its strength, as in the beginning. For thorns and thistles shall the ground produce, and thou shalt be moving and wandering in the earth until the day of thy death. And at that time Cain went out from the presence of the Elohim, from the place where he was, and he went moving and wandering in the land toward the east of Eden, he and all belonging to him. And Cain knew his wife in those days, and she conceived and bare a son, and he called his name Enoch, saying, In that time the Elohim began to give him rest and quiet in the earth. And at that time Cain also began to build a city. And he built the city, and he called the name of the city Enoch, according to the name of his son. For in those days the Elohim had given him rest upon the earth, and he did not move about and wander as in the beginning. And Irad was born to Enoch, and Irad begat Mikuel, and Mikuel begat Methusael. All right, so this is touching on a bit of what I was discussing. Now, as far as we knew, there were only Adam and Eve in that garden, right? Of course, we know the serpent was there, but there were Adam and Eve in the garden. They went east, and then they had these two sons. But, one son killed the other. Cain killed Abel. And then Cain went out further toward the east of this garden, and he took a wife. So obviously there were other people. Do we know how long they were there? When they were made? I'm unsure. So let's go ahead and go into chapter 2. And it was in the 130th year of the life of Adam upon the earth that he again knew Eve, his wife, and she conceived and bare a son in his likeness and in his image. And she called his name Seth, saying, Because Elohim has appointed me another seed in the place of Abel, for Cain has slain him. And Seth lived 105 years, and he begat a son, and Seth called the name of his son Enosh, saying, Because in that time the sons of men begin to multiply, and to afflict their souls and hearts by transgressing and rebelling against the Most High. And it was in the days of Enosh that the sons of men continued to rebel and transgress against the Most High, to increase the anger of the Elohim against the sons of men. And the sons of men went, and they served other gods, and they forgot the Elohim who had created them in the earth. Wow, they hadn't even been here that long. Interesting. And in those days the sons of men made images of brass and iron, wood and stone, and they bowed down and served them. I'm going to stop here. Do you all see how from when Eve first sinned by eating the forbidden fruit, and then Adam took it, from that point forward, they got everything changed. They were thrown to another side of that garden. Everything changed. Sin just came in. They had these two children. One of them was pretty much, it appears to me, he was born wicked. I think Cain was born wicked. He killed one of the other children. Murder. He lied about it. Lying. You know what I'm saying? To the Most High, he tried to bury him and cover it up in shame. And he killed his brother because he was jealous. He killed his brother based on his own sin. He's the one who brought the blemished of his flock to the Most High. He could have brought his best, but he chose not to. So, as you can see, now with the new generations, it's just getting worse and worse and worse. And now the idolatry begins. So, and in those days the sons of men made images of brass and iron, wood and stone, and they bowed down and served them. And every man made his god, and they bowed down to them. And the sons of men forsook the Elohim all the days of Enosh and his children. And the anger of the Elohim was kindled on account of their works and abominations which they did in the earth. And the Elohim caused the waters of the river Gihon to overwhelm them, and he destroyed and consumed them. And he destroyed the third part of the earth. And notwithstanding this, the sons of men did not turn from their evil ways, and their hands were yet extended to do evil in the sight of the Most High. And in those days there was neither sowing nor reaping in the earth, and there was no food for the sons of men, and the famine was very great in those days. And the seed which they sowed in those days in the ground became thorns, thistles, and briars. For from the days of Adam was this declaration concerning the earth, of the curse of Elohim, which he cursed the earth on account of the sin which Adam sinned before the Elohim. So it's telling you now, after that day, the entire earth was cursed. And it was when men continued to rebel and transgress against the Most High, and to corrupt their ways, that the earth also became corrupt. And Enosh lived 90 years, and he begat Canaan. And Canaan grew up, and he was 40 years old, and he became wise, and had knowledge and skill in all wisdom. And he reigned over all the sons of men. And he led the sons of men to wisdom and knowledge. For Canaan was a very wise man, and had understanding in all wisdom. And with his wisdom he ruled over spirits and demons. And Canaan knew by his wisdom that Elohim would destroy the sons of men. I'm going to stop there. You see where he's saying Canaan was a very wise man and had understanding in all wisdom, and with his wisdom he ruled over spirits and demons. So spirits and demons are two different things here. Now, who does this sound like? There's another man, King Solomon, who was also able to rule over spirits and demons. It looks like I remember him having a ring, but I'll get into that another time. And Canaan knew by his wisdom that Elohim would destroy the sons of men for having sinned upon the earth, and that the Elohim would in the later days bring upon them waters of the flood. And in those days Canaan wrote upon tablets of stone what was to take place in time to come, and he put them in his treasures. Once again, a man knowing that the earth is going to be destroyed, and he writes on tablets of stone like Moses did, except at that time it was kind of you have an option. You will be destroyed, or you can follow these laws. All right. And Canaan reigned over the whole earth, and he turned some of the sons of men to the service of the Most High. And when Canaan was 70 years old, he begat 3 sons and 2 daughters. And these are the names of the children of Canaan. The name of the firstborn Mahalalel, the second Enan, and the third Mered, and their sisters were Adah and Zillah. These are the 5 children of Canaan that were born to him. And Lamech, the son of Methusael, became related to Canaan by marriage, and he took his 2 daughters for his wives. And Adah conceived and bare a son to Lamech, and she called his name Jabal. And she again conceived and bare a son, and called his name Jubal. And Zillah her sister was barren in those days, and had no offspring. For in those days the sons of men began to trespass against the Elohim, and to transgress the commandments which he had commanded to Adam, to be fruitful and multiply in the earth. Wow, so it says they began to transgress the commandments which he had commanded to Adam, to be fruitful and multiply in the earth. So what does that mean? Were they, having abortions? Were they weren't being fruitful and multiplying? That's saying something to me right now. I'll continue. And some of the sons of men caused their wives to drink a drought that would render them barren. Oh, that's exactly what they were doing. Basically creating, in order that they might retain their figures, and whereby their beautiful appearance might not fade. And when the sons of men caused some of their wives to drink, Zillah drank with them. And the childbearing women appeared abominable in the sight of their husbands as widows, whilst their husbands lived for to the barren ones. Okay, so it's basically saying that some of the sons of men caused their wives to drink a drought. I don't know what that is, but it seems like it's some type of poison that basically stops them from being able to have children, like birth control, pretty much. That's what it is. That's exactly what it is, birth control. So they can, keep young, tight bodies instead of, having babies and stretch marks and things like that. And even further down, it's telling you, and when the sons of men, let me go back. And when the sons of men caused some of their wives to drink, Zillah drank with them. So that's why she was barren. And the childbearing women appeared abominable in the sight of their husbands as widows. Basically saying the women that had children looked disgusting to their husbands, whilst their husbands lived for to the barren ones. Only they were attached. Let me go back again. So basically their husbands, were running after the women who had no children, that, kept the young bodies, that didn't give any birth. And in the end of days and years, when Zillah became old, the Elohim opened her womb. So it looks like that drink made them barren for good. Wow. And she conceived and bare a son, and she called his name Tubal Cain. I like the names that they use, saying, after I had withered away, have I obtained him from the Almighty Elohim. And she conceived again and bare a daughter, and she called her name Naamah, for she said, after I had withered away have I obtained pleasure and delight. And Lamech was old and advanced in years, and his eyes were dim that he could not see. And Tubal Cain his son was leading him. And it was one day that Lamech went into the field, and Tubal Cain his son was with him. And whilst they were walking in the field, Cain the son of Adam advanced toward them. For Lamech was very old and could not see much, and Tubal Cain was his son was very young. And Tubal Cain told his father to draw his bow, and with the arrows he smote Cain, who was yet far off, and he slew him, for he appeared to them to be an animal. Now, and the arrow entered Cain's body, although he was distant from them, and he fell to the ground and died. And the Elohim requited Cain's evil according to his wickedness, which he had done to his brother Abel, according to the word of the Most High, which he had spoken. And it came to pass when Cain had died, that Lamech and Tubal went to see the animal which they had slain, and they saw, and behold, Cain their grandfather was fallen dead upon the earth. And Lamech was very much grieved at having done this, and in clapping his hands together, he struck his son and caused his death. Wow, he must have been really strong. Now you guys see what's happened, right? Cain went off, he killed his brother. He was sent out into the further regions of the garden. He got a wife, he had children, he's got grandchildren, and you know what the Most High did? He recompensed Cain. He paid him back. So he was walking in the field one day, and his own children were the one, his own seed or his grandchildren were the ones that killed him. And it was a righteous judgment, because Cain was the first one to ever commit a murder that we know of. So if you live by the sword, you die by the sword, right? He that kills must be killed. So Cain was a killer, so he was killed. Wow. And Lamech was very much grieved at having done this. And in let me go back to a higher one. Let's see. And it came, let me go to 29. And the Elohim requited Cain's evil according to his wickedness, which he had done to his brother Abel according to the word of the Most High, which he had spoken. And it came to pass when Cain had died, that Lamech and Tubal went to the animal which they had slain. And they saw, and behold, Cain their grandfather was fallen dead upon the earth. So yes, his own seed, his grandchildren, were the ones who ended up killing him. And the wives of Lamech heard what Lamech had done, and they sought to kill him. Wow. Wow. And the wives of Lamech hated him from that day, because he slew Cain and Tubal Cain. And the wives of Lamech separated from him, and would not hearken to him in those days. Wow. So it's like they kind of divorced him, or they separated and went off somewhere. And Lamech came to his wives, and he pressed them to listen to him about this matter. And he said to his wives, Adah and Zillah, hear my voice, O wives of Lamech, attend to my words. For now you have imagined and said that I slew a man with my wounds, and a child with my stripes for their having done no violence. But surely know that I am old and gray-headed, and that my eyes are heavy through age, and I did this thing unknowingly. And the wives of Lamech listened to him in this matter, and they returned to him with the advice of their father Adam. But they bore no children to him from that time, knowing that God's anger was increasing in those days against the sons of men, to destroy them with the waters of the flood for their evil doings. And Mahalalel and the son of Canaan lived 65 years, and he begat Jared. And Jared lived 62 years, and he begat Enoch. All right, so I'm going to stop here. That was the Book of Jasher, chapter 1 and 2.